Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Now, when you hear the name Bronte, your mind probably jumps straight to Wuthering Heights, right? Or maybe Jane Eyre. Windswept moors, passionate halls. But today, we're actually shifting our focus. We're looking at something, well, maybe even more astonishing. The incredibly rich, imaginative worlds these giants of literature created long before those famous novels ever saw the light of day.
Yeah, we're diving into the Tales of Angria, and Gondal, their selected early writings. And this isn't just, dry literary history. It's really a journey into the sheer power of childhood imagination. We think it offers you this unique shortcut almost to understanding where that literary genius actually came from. Our mission really is to explore the creative force behind it all and see how it still resonates emotionally, even now. It's one thing to make up stories as a kid. We all do that. But can you picture building entire complex universes
Yeah.
with your siblings? Starting when you're really young.
Mhm.
That's exactly what the Brontes did. So I guess the question is, what was the scale of this? How intense was it? Oh, it's truly astonishing.
Yeah.
It really is. Elizabeth Gaskell, when she was researching Charlotte's biography, she came across these papers and found them most extraordinary. That's her word.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, she described this immense amount of manuscript in an inconceivably small space. Tiny, tiny handwriting.
Wow.
And she called it wild, weird writing. Noted the creative power carried to the verge of insanity.
Goodness, verge of insanity. That gives you a real sense of how immersive it must have been.
Absolutely.
Oh.
All-consuming. You can see how it laid the groundwork for the depth in their later novels, definitely.
That's incredible. So, okay, they weren't just passively writing these tales down then.
No, not at all.
What was their role within these worlds? Were they just the authors looking in?
Exactly the right question.
Mhm.
They were deeply, deeply embedded.
Yeah.
They weren't just authors. Gaskell calls them creators of and characters in their plays.
Yeah, okay. Characters, too.
Yes. Appearing as these omnipotent chief genie, or sometimes little king and queens, they were actively controlling things.
So they were pulling the strings.
Pulling the strings and starring in the show.
Yeah.
Living out fantasies from within these worlds they had built. Glasstown, Angria, Gondal.
Right. So what were these worlds like? What kind of places did these young minds conjure up? I'm picturing something quite fantastical.
Oh, they were breathtakingly detailed. They started with this fictitious world established in Africa that was Glasstown, which later sort of evolved into Angria.
Africa. Interesting.
And it was this wild blend. You had bits of fairy tale, echoes of Arabian Nights, but also a kind of reconfigured early 19th century European society mixed in.
Quite mixed.
Definitely.
Mhm.
They gave places these grand names like Verdopolis, Mount Aornos, even the Sahara Desert featured. And then there's this almost dreamlike island, Strathfieldsaye, described with just gorgeous beauty, such wild magnificence.
Wild
They
magnificence.
weren't just scribbling stories, they were like constructing entire mental geographies. It's quite something.
Mental geographies, yeah. So beyond that grand scale, what about the personal side? What did these places mean emotionally to the Brontes themselves?
Well, that's maybe the most powerful part. It was profound, utterly profound. Look at Charlotte Brontë. In her Rowhead journal, she calls her imaginary world an ark.
An arc.
Yes, an ark, which for me floats alone on the face of this world's desolate and boundless deluge.
Wow. That's deeply personal.
It really is. She said her heart truly lived there, unlike the mechanical tasks of her everyday life.
Yeah.
This wasn't just a game, it was a refuge, a vital
A
one.
refuge, okay.
And you see that shared need for solace, maybe hope too, in Emily and Anne's diary papers. There's an entry from June 1837. They're musing about their future, like way off in 1874. And they write, "I wonder where we shall be and how we shall be. Let us hope for the best."
Dreaming within their created worlds.
Exactly. These weren't just escapes. They were these vibrant living spaces where they could dream, process things, figure stuff out, and ultimately, grow into the writers we know.
It really puts it in perspective. So it's clear then, these collaborative, intricate, deeply felt plays, they were much more than childhood pastimes.
Much more.
They sound like the very crucible, the forging ground for the literary giants they became.
That's the perfect way to put it.
It just shows the incredible, lasting power of imagination, right from the earliest age. What an incredible journey that was into the Brontes' earliest imaginative worlds. A really powerful testament, I think, to how creativity can offer solace, strength, and, well, a profound sense of self. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please do like, subscribe, maybe leave us a comment sharing your thoughts. We love hearing from you. And maybe something to think about as you go about your day. What arc of imagination do you return to? And how does it shape your own world?